If you are at all looking in the direction of your screen right now, you can clearly see that I'm about to break down the entire UFC 307 card, giving my picks and predictions a day before the event. The reason I waited for a day before the event is because I was going to place a lot of bets on this card, and I want to do some research and make sure that the picks that I have are the right ones. The advice I'm giving you is the advice I've taken myself. I've got money on the card. Let's get right into it on the main event. Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree. It's a fight that I have a prediction for. I've made a video on it, but I'm not sure what the reception will be once I release this video, considering that I am going with Khalil Rountree. Now, if I was just breaking this fight down because of the skills of both the fighters, I would probably go with Alex Pereira, in all honesty. Alex Pereira is the better striker of the two. He has the better leg kicks. He might even have more power. Actually, he does have more power. He knocked out Jamal Hill and Yuri Prochazka out cold. The only person he couldn't knock out was Jan Blachowicz, and I feel like the altitude of Salt Lake City probably played a factor in it last year. Jan Blachowicz has great wrestling. Khalil Rountree has gone out of his way to say that he will not be implementing any wrestling in this fight. I'm not sure if I can really buy it. I do kind of. I'm not sure, though. The reason I'm going with Khalil Rountree is mostly because of the fact I feel like Alex Pereira has been way too much active, which is crazy to say, but if you think about it, in the last calendar year since last year's Salt Lake City, it might not be exactly a year, maybe a year and 2 months. But the point I'm making is, he's had five fights at this point. He had the fight with Jan Blachowicz, then Yuri Prochazka, then Jamal Hill, then Yuri Prochazka again, and now he's fighting Khalil Rountree. His fifth fight in about 14 months' time. And before that, he fought Adesanya, who got knocked out cold in April of that year. So really, in the last 18 months, he's had 6 fights. One of them being a knockout. He hasn't taken any serious amount of damage, in my opinion. But I feel like he's just too active. He's 37 years old, guys. Keep in mind, 37 years old. He's not a young gun. He's not a quick cat. Khalil Rountree isn't the youngest fighter ever, but he has shown some good power in his last 5 fights. He robbed Justin Jacoby, who's a striker. Forget about it. This is a new Khalil Rountree. I think if it was just a normal fight and there was nothing else going on, I would probably pick Alex Pereira. But I feel, and by the way, in the face-offs when they just did today for me, I'm in Australia. They did the face-offs earlier today, and Alex Pereira looks massive at 205. Khalil Rountree is also a big, he's more thicker of the two. But of the two, he definitely looks smaller. And I'm not going to convince myself in this video to change my pick. I'm going with Khalil Rountree. I think there's too much goofiness that could take place for not to be a factor here. Alex Pereira, when he's striking, he's not hitting and moving at all. Wonderboy said in his interview, and it's true. If you look at the way Alex Pereira fights, he stands still, throws a strike, and then moves afterwards. He goes backwards and forwards more than he goes sideways. He did go sideways a bit in his fight against Cesar Adesanya, but in general, if you're looking at Alex Pereira fight, he's standing still. That's how he got knocked out by Cesar Adesanya in the rematch as well. He stood still, threw strikes against Cesar Adesanya against the cage, eventually got caught. I think the altitude, the too much activity, the age, at some point, the banana slip is there. Think about this, right? Alex Pereira has fought not that many times in the UFC. Maybe 8 or 9 times. I'm not sure exactly how many. The amount of fights that he's had in the UFC, you got to think of it like this. Better fighters lose to worse fighters because they slip on a banana peel and eventually make a mistake. I think there's too much going on here for Alex Pereira to not make a mistake in this scenario. I'm picking Khalil Rountree. I think he catches him. Alex Pereira's going to be throwing some shots against Khalil Rountree. Honestly, I don't think Alex Pereira can KO Khalil Rountree. Which makes no sense considering Khalil got knocked out by Ion Cutelaba. I'm picking Khalil Rountree. I think he knocks him out in the 3rd or the 4th round. And then TKOs him on the ground. Follows up with strikes. TKOs him. It's a huge upset. Everyone will say, oh, what an unexpected whatever, right? But it'll be a fluke. I think this is the one where Alex Pereira will finally slip on the banana pill. Lose hair. The money. You can see the money I have on the line. $50. Kayla Harrison. Khalil Rountree to win. 50. Think about this, guys. Even if you don't think Khalil Rountree is going to win, put $10 on him. The odds of him winning, based on the scenario that we've been given, are too high for the odds that he is paying out. You can see on my screen, $4.92. Put $10 on it. Just if you have $10 to throw away, put $10 on Khalil Rountree. Even better, put it by KO. I didn't because it was a multi. That's the pick. Moving on. Raquel Pennington versus Julianna Pena. Before I tell you who I'm going with, I will say, of the two fighters, the cleaner striking goes to Raquel Pennington, clearly. By far, she's boring, don't get me wrong. She's more of not really a point fighter, but no real knockout power whatsoever. I'm moving my hands around a lot. I don't know why. I'm putting them down now. Based position. Anyway, Raquel Pennington of the two is the better striker. She outstruck Mayra Bueno Silva, and I feel like Mayra Bueno Silva has better striking than Julianna Pena does. Look at Julianna Pena, right? She, in the first fight against Amanda Nunes, was closing her eyes, throwing overhands, looking at the floor, looking at her toes, had her eyes closed, and for some weird reason, Amanda Nunes just got into a brawl with her. This is the banana slipper that I'm talking about, guys. I feel like Amanda Nunes didn't take that fight too seriously, and if she did, she just wanted to hurt Julianna Pena and get her out of there as soon as possible to make a statement. Even though Amanda Nunes is completely capable of just outstriking Julianna Pena for 5 rounds, taking her down, controlling her, getting up, doing stuff like that, like she did in the second fight. Julianna Pena has the better jiu-jitsu of the two. I do think if Julianna Pena gets on the back of Raquel Pennington, she has a good chance of finishing her off. If Julianna Pena gets Raquel Pennington to the ground, controls her there, I think she could get a submission, but far less likely than submitting Raquel Pennington on the feet by taking her back, or whatever. Raquel Pennington has the better wrestling of the two. Let's be honest here. I can see Raquel Pennington. Mayra Bueno Silva is a really, really good jiu-jitsu practitioner. She, in my opinion, is better than Julianna Pena. She's also a better striker than Julianna Pena, in my opinion, just to the elbows. She has more of a variety of ways of striking her opponents, dealing damage, making stuff happen. Julianna Pena is going to be wild for about 2 rounds. If Raquel Pennington can not get emotional and just stay out of the pocket, I think she will probably easily beat her 4-9-46. I think Julianna Pena can take the first or the second round, but that's about it. Other than that, I think Raquel Pennington has a better gas tank as well. And the fact that the fight's happening in elevation, guys. The fight's happening in elevation, right? Raquel Pennington specifically trains in elevation. On top of that, she has a better gas tank anyway. And Julianna Pena's BJJ, let me just tell you guys, it is not as elite as she would have you believe. When she goes to the ground, she's hurt, and she does that thing that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys do, hands around her head, feet up, coming to my guard. Raquel, my advice to Raquel is just go into her guard. Her triangles, her armbar attempts, they're not that elite. You will do more damage to Julianna Pena than she could possibly have the threat of finishing you off. Alexa Grasso has not way better, but better jiu-jitsu than Julianna Pena. She could do nothing against Valentina. She came close for one submission, I think, it was a guillotine. A Hail Mary guillotine, that about tells you everything you need to know. Anyway, Raquel Pennington, I think Raquel probably won't go to the ground with her. I think she'll just push her against the cage, hold her there, grapple her, throw some knees to the thighs, some small shots, just overall strikes, not significant by any means, but she'll win the rounds. It'll be boring. I think Julianna could make it exciting in the first couple of rounds, but eventually I'm expecting Raquel Pennington to be the more consistent fighter of the two. And yeah, I don't see a finish happening unless it's from Julianna Pena, so I'm just not expecting a finish. I've got Raquel Pennington. It's between Raquel. What am I saying? Raquel and Kayla Harrison. As you can see, there's a theme here. Kayla Harrison is in a couple of my multis. I'm parlaying the two together. I've got $200, guys. Listen to me, $200. The payout is $367. I think there's a decent odds. I do think Raquel Pennington gets it done. I'm not the most... it's possible she loses. I'm not the most confident in a way that this is a steal or anything. But I'm confident enough to put $200 on it. Alright? That's where the money's going. Moving on. Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. Mario Bautista is a really, really, really good volume striker. I think he's a better volume striker of the two. Especially in altitude, I can definitely see him out-voluming Jose Aldo. Because in Jose Aldo's last fight in altitude against Merab Dvalishvili, he was throwing, but he just wasn't throwing enough to the point where he would steal some of those rounds. I'm not going to say he seemed hesitant. He was probably a little bit tired. I'm not sure how tired he was, or maybe that was the game plan. I can't tell you. I'm not inside of Jose Aldo's mind. And I don't train Jose Aldo myself, so I have no clue what's happening here. Merab Dvalishvili was able to push Jose Aldo against the fence, control him there, throw some knees, couldn't take him down. Mario Bautista, if grappling is at all in his game plan, I don't think it's going to be. He showed no signs of it being. In his past fights, I think he might have thrown a few takedowns. I think he tried to go for a takedown against Ricky Simone. he stuffed a takedown. I think Jose Aldo's takedown defense is even better than Ricky Simone's. And Ricky Simone is a wrestler by nature, so his takedown defense is pretty decent itself. If it comes down to volume, I think Mario Bautista would probably go for that approach. Jose Aldo, I do think is the better striker of the two. The more cleaner strikes, the more variety of strikes. His leg kicks, I think, are a huge factor in this fight, especially in a fight where cardio is a factor in itself. Because if Mario Bautista goes around and does his normal volume striking, he could easily gas himself out by the third round, where I think Jose Aldo could get a finish. I don't think this fight will be finished. I think it will go to a decision. If again, Mario Bautista got caught by Ricky Simone in his last fight in the first round. Got dropped. I thought he lost the first round. That fight is a lot closer than you would have it believed by the scorecards. I think Mario Bautista clearly won the third round for me. Actually, he won the second and third round clearly. But the first round, I actually had that fight, the first round for Ricky Simone. It was a massive shock to me to find out that apparently two of the judges thought Mario Bautista took the first round, and then only one had it Ricky Simone's way. I would have thought it would be inverse of that. I thought one judge would have it for Mario Bautista and two for Ricky Simone. Anyway, Ricky Simone went for a lot of wrestling, tired himself out. Jose Aldo ain't doing that. He'll be striking against Mario Bautista. If Mario Bautista gets too zesty, that's just the word I'm using from now on. Watch my previous videos. I think he's going to get too angsty, Angsty, that's the word. He'll get too angsty, get too close to Jose Aldo, get cracked a few times, drop. I think Jose Aldo will do the more damage of the two. But Mario Bautista is dangerous. Like, he is dangerous, but against Blackshear, that fight was way too close for my comfort to say that he is this prospect that can beat Jose Aldo. One more thing, Jose Aldo is 38 years old. I watched a video from We Want Picks. They said apparently Jose Aldo is way older than that, because apparently in the favelas they have no paperwork. So when Jose Aldo went to submit his paperwork, he apparently put in at the wrong age, like he made himself too young. His actual age is actually probably about 40. That makes no sense, because think about it for a second, right? If you're filing in fake paperwork to potentially go for a job or move away, why would you have your age be lower than what it is? Like, if you're a young kid and you're out there, and you're, let's say, 16 years old, or maybe 18 years old, whatever, why would you go and tell them that your age is actually, instead of 18 or 16, it's actually 14 or 16? You know what I mean? That's not going to get you a job. If anything, you're going to be lying about the fact that you're actually older than what your actual birth date is. It just makes sense to me. I feel like if anything, Jose Aldo's not actually 38. He might actually be 36. That's why he looks so good at this age. Considering the lighter weight divisions, the decline is way steeper as the older you get. But Jose Aldo is fighting his father time right now. Looked amazing in his last fight. Outstruck old mate, Jonathan Martinez, that's his name. Outstruck him, destroyed him, pieced him up on the feet. I think he can do the same thing to Mario Bautista. And for that reason, I'm going with Jose Aldo in this fight. I've got $50 on him. I would have more, but I just don't feel the most confident. Because now the age thing is in my mind. I don't know how old Jose Aldo is and when his decline is happening or what it's going to... Oh, you know what I mean? There's too many uncertainties with Jose Aldo. Anyway, $50 on Jose Aldo. The payout is $107.50. A great underdog on the card. Not the best, though. The best one will come to later. Actually, right now, Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. I made a video on this, so I'll just quickly go over what I said. They both have good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Dolidze is better. He has better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu of the two. He doesn't showcase it too much because he doesn't get many submission wins. Because he has power in his hands. He catches people. You know what I mean? Jack Hermanson. I'm talking so fast. Ooh. Jack Hermanson fight. In the Jack Hermanson fight when these two fought, Jack Hermanson was not able to implement his grappling at all in that fight. Eventually, Jack Hermanson did win the first round, outstruck him on the feet. Not the most comforting thing getting outstruck by Jack Hermanson, but Dolidze does have power. That's something we learned in that fight. He caught Jack Hermanson in the second round, dropped him, finished him off. I think he had a leg lock on him or something like a calf slicer on him while he was KOing Jack Hermanson or something. So again, getting a calf slicer on someone like Jack Hermanson, that's a huge deal. Kevin Holland, good jiu-jitsu, but he's just shown too many weaknesses when it comes to takedowns. He gets out-grappled by anyone he fights. Alex Oliveira, Cowboy, was old as dirt. He was old as shit. In his debut fight against Alex Oliveira, what am I saying? In welterweight, got taken down. Alex Oliveira had a rear naked submission on him. Wasn't underneath the chin. Kevin Holland survived. But Kevin Holland lost that first round to Alex Oliveira, who is old as dirt. I cannot emphasize this enough. There's a pattern with Kevin Holland, and I just wanted to bring up the pattern with Kevin Holland right now. Kevin Holland goes from fighting unranked fighters after unranked fighter after unranked fighter to fighting someone in the top 10, losing. For some reason, every time he does that, he fights someone in the top 10, he's the favorite, loses, goes back to fighting unranked fighters, beats them, looks amazing, has fun fights. Michael Chiesa, Michael Chuchubu, Tim Means, Alex Oliveira, among other people. But then when he fights someone that's in the top 10, he always gets beaten. Like, the one guy he had the advantage with the grappling was Wonderboy Thompson. Refused to take him down. Got beaten on the feet, outstruck, outvolumed. His hand gave out, TKO. I'm just going to go to the next slide. The pick is Roman Dolidze. He's better at too many things. In my opinion, I actually cannot see the pathway for Kevin Holland in this fight. Initially, I had $125 on Roman Dolidze. Earlier today, I decided, fuck it. I'm putting another $75 on Roman Dolidze for a grand total of $200. I think he's the best underdog on the card. I don't understand why he's the underdog. Makes no sense to me. He's coming off a couple of losses, but he did just beat Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith has better takedown defense than Kevin Holland, in my opinion. Maybe he's not as dangerous as Kevin Holland off the ground anymore, like at this point of the game. You know what I mean? Like at this point in the game, Anthony Smith just ain't flexible. He ain't athletic enough to just be popping up like triangles, arm bars, like he did back in the day. Like we saw that in the Ryan Spann fight, the first Ryan Spann fight, when Anthony Smith fought Ryan Spann, and he submitted him in the first round. The rematch happens. It's a split decision that Anthony Smith arguably loses. And Ryan Spann is trash. But I may have picked him the next... we'll get to it. Roman Dolidze destroyed Anthony Smith, pieced him up on the feet, took him down. Anthony Smith could do nothing. I'm not expecting Kevin Holland to do nothing. But by any act of God that Kevin Holland wins, I dare you. I dare God. Go against my pick if you dare. Because I'll turn into a non-believer. Anyway. Roman Dolidze. If Kevin Holland, by any chance, KOs Roman Dolidze, I will personally find out how to start a petition. And I will start a petition in the MMA community to sign as Anthony Smith as the worst fighter ever. Because a welterweight would have beaten an opponent that Anthony Smith lost to. A middleweight who moved up to light heavyweight on short notice and just destroyed Anthony Smith's ass. So yeah, Anthony Smith's career on the line in this fight. Like, just as a side story, is like a little narrative you can use. Kayla Harrison versus Ketlen Viera. There's not much to say here. Ketlen Viera is dangerous. She's good at fighting. She's a good striker. Better striker than Kayla Harrison. Decent on the ground. Not good enough, though. I don't think she'll be able to stop the takedowns. Kayla Harrison doesn't have to be like this KO artist. She's not going to keep the fight on the feet for too long. Let's be honest here. I'm going to make this one a quick one. She'll use her strikers to close the gap between herself and Ketlen Viera. She'll get in close, take her down, ground and pound. I'm expecting a second round finish. I'm glad they're opening the card with this because originally it was Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. I'm glad they're spacing the women's fights out a little bit because I feel like the reason they've done that is because they're expecting Kayla Harrison to win, guys. It's quite obvious the UFC did this because they're expecting Kayla Harrison to win. Because if they were actually expecting Ketlen Viera to win here, this fight wouldn't be on the main card. They want the hype for Kayla Harrison. They want her to open the card. She has a decent amount of fans. Like a lot of fans follow like the wrestling community. The judo community. They know her from like her other ventures. They've heard the hype. They know that she's in the division. She's on UFC 300, so she obviously got like a big boost in popularity from that. Just being on the card, just being and she had a fun fight on the UFC 300. You know. Anyway, UFC knows she's gonna win. I know she's gonna win. You know she's gonna win. Kayla Harrison's is gonna be the pick. I think she will finish in the second round, ground and pound. Ketlen Viera is good, but I just think Kayla Harrison on a different level for anyone in the division. I think she would win this fight here. I think she'll challenge the winner of the co-main event, and I think she beats the winner of the co-main event handily and decisively. I hope my mic is on. It is on. Thank the Lord. We're 19 and a half minutes in. That was a quick one. Let's go on. Let's move on. Joaquin Buckley versus Wonderboy Thompson. I've done a lot for this card for you guys. The aesthetics, man. The aesthetics of the pictures being right there in front of you. It took me an hour to make. Buckley versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. That's a lie. It took me 45 minutes. I think this would be a one-sided fight about 6 to 7 years ago. I think Wonderboy's takedown defense was a lot better a few years back. Actually, I don't know. Was it that good? I know he fought Tyron Woodley, but did Tyron Woodley even go for that many takedowns? I don't know, but Wonderboy did knock out a few wrestlers back in the day, you know. Yeah, who did he knock out? Rory McDonald? Yeah, he's a good fight. I mean, he knocked out a lot of people back in the day. Jeff Neal, Vicente Luque, in his older ages, he also beat good strikers, rangy strikers. Joaquin Buckley's coming off a KO over Vicente Luque, and he controlled Ruziev. I can't remember his name. Ruziev? That's his name, right? Ruziev. A big Russian dude. I thought he would win. He took him down, wrestled him. He was a massive dude. Joaquin Buckley showed huge power. It was a dangerous fight for him. Short notice as well. Took him down, controlled him, won the fight, in my opinion. Wonderboy has been struggling badly against wrestlers, let's be honest here. Burns took him down, controlled him. Shavkat, who doesn't have the best wrestling, let's be honest here. Shavkat almost never uses his wrestling outside of like just his jiu-jitsu. He's somebody Neil Magny, I understand that. But it wasn't such a heavy grappling approach that he took in that fight either. I feel like Joaquin Buckley has shown real good striking. Good striking as well, actually. He didn't look the best against Alex Moreno, for example. He got pieced up a little bit. Not pieced up, but he took some damage. It was looking a bit rough. He's got good wrestling. He'll be able to close the gap. If Kevin Holland can take down Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I think Joaquin Buckley can as well. Joaquin Buckley took down Ruziev and Vicente Luque in his last fight. KO'd Vicente Luque. Insane. Vicente Luque has good jiu-jitsu. Took him down. Finished him off. Still some power in his hands. Wonderboy will have to respect the power in his hand. I think Joaquin Buckley could KO Wonderboy here, but I think Wonderboy will respect the power, be a little bit hesitant, try to point fight against Joaquin Buckley, but I think Joaquin Buckley is confident enough in his striking that he will just charge in there, close the gap, throw some overhands, and Wonderboy will back off, maybe get against the cage, shoot a double leg, take him down. Wonderboy has a karate stance. I'm not sure how good. I think his reaction time has slowed down from what I've watched in his last few fights. I don't think the knees up the middle are coming with as much power or as speed as they once did. Obviously, he did absolutely destroy Kevin Holland. And he showed some great power and some great striking, but I just don't think so. I think Joaquin Buckley, 29-28. I think Wonderboy can take a round there. I think Joaquin Buckley will just wrestle, though. I'm not expecting anything other than a wrestling approach. I'm not expecting Joaquin Buckley to try his striking. He'll use his striking to get the takedowns, but I'm not expecting this to be like a fight on the feet, you know what I mean? And also being 41 years old, guys, like, at some point the decline for some of these fighters has to... I know I picked Jose Aldo before, but Wonderboy has a clear glaring weakness. He's 41. I don't think this is the age that he'll be making some huge improvements to his grappling, his wrestling, you know what I mean? He's taking defense. At this stage of the game, I'm not sure if Wonderboy's going to the gym and thinking, you know what? Wrestling's what I need to train on. You understand? Like, at this point, like, he knows what he's good at. He's improving the things he's good at and just trying to mitigate what he's bad at. He's not making huge leaps at his flaws. So I'm not expecting, like, Wonderboy to be this insane wrestler for this fight. So, yeah. There was one more thing I wanted to bring up, sorry. Yeah, one more thing. This fight is taking place in elevation, and Joaquin Buckley just looks like the type of fighter that would gas out. He is muscled out of his mind. Especially when you're 170, I think there could be gas tank issues. The only thing I see is Joaquin Buckley potentially gassing out later on in the fight, but I don't think he will. He fought Nassim Mav at 185. I understand it was 185, and the weight cut could lead to a worse gas tank for Joaquin Buckley. But the thing is, against Nassim Mavov in Paris, in the third round, Joaquin Buckley had this huge surge of energy. He was just laying it on Nassim Mavov, who was gassed at the time. I think Joaquin Buckley has more gas in his veins than you would just think by looking at him, just because of how massive he is. Wonderboy has a more athletic physique, but he's 41. I understand. I see 41-year-olds running on the street all the time. Like 10-kilometer runs at the age of 45. I see that stuff happening, but fighting cardio is different, you know what I mean? I think if anything now, Wonderboy is probably at his weakest. I've gone on for a while. The pick is obviously Joaquin Buckley. Wonderboy is probably at his weakest that he's ever been. He's got the slowest reaction time he's ever going to have. Unless Joaquin Buckley wants to just stand and trade and show Wonderboy that he's apparently a better striker, a completely idiotic game plan to implement in any fight with Wonderboy. If you're anyone in the division, do not strike with Wonderboy. Even though he's old, and he's worse in other areas than he used to be, his striking is still arguably the best in the division. $100 over Joaquin Buckley, 149. I'm very confident in this fight. That's why I put in $100 to have a low payout, because I think it's gonna happen, guys. I think it's gonna happen. Moving on, Marina Rodriguez versus Iasmin Lucindo. Marina Rodriguez is 37 years old, and she's 1-3 in her last 4. And I understand that she went to a split decision with Jessica Andrade, but Jessica Andrade isn't Jessica Andrade anymore. You know what I mean? Jessica Andrade ain't taking punches like she used to. She's been KO'd a few times, finished a few times. She isn't like this freak lesbian superhuman monster in the women's division anymore. Marina Rodriguez is the more skilled fighter of these two, in my opinion. She's got the better striking, the more range. But her grappling is a big problem. And Iasmin Lucindo specifically has really, really good grappling. And she's coming, okay, I understand. She's coming off a win against Carolina Wachowski. I can't pronounce these names, guys. I'm bad at this. My voice stutters when I try to say these names. And it sounds cringe. Anyway, Carolina is a 38 or 37 at the time, I think. Old woman at the time. Or 38, I can't remember. She was old as dirt. Iasmin had no problem taking her out. She has a few submission wins before that. Marina Rodriguez lost to Jessica Andrade. She has some good wins back in the day, but like way back in the day. I think she beat Mackenzie Dern. You know, but Mackenzie Dern ain't really that high level. This is a tricky fight to pick because I can see Marina Rodriguez turning back the clock. Looking great in the striking, but she lost to Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade was completely destroyed by that. Damn it! I wish I'm looking it up. You know the girl, like she completely outstruck her. I know these people. I've seen these fights, I swear. Jessica Andrade. Hey, hold with me. Natalia Silva. Her. Natalia Silva is an actual elite striker and she completely destroyed Jessica Andrade. Marina Rodriguez isn't quite that elite, I don't think, in my opinion. I think this fight is too risky to bet on. I will be going with Iasmin Lucindo. But it's tricky. She's real young. You could always use the inexperienced argument against her. Grappling will be the way that she approaches this fight, I think. And if she can't take down Marina Rodriguez, it will be bad trouble for her. Because I think on the feet, Marina Rodriguez should be able to outclass her. She's bigger, longer, rangier, older, more experienced. You know, it goes both ways. Experience, age. You get too old, but you still have experience. You know what I mean? Anyway, the pick is going to be Iasmin Lucindo. But I wouldn't bet on this fight because women and 50-50. But if I had to bet, I'd put it on Marina Rodriguez. I think she has a good shot. But the pick will be Iasmin Lucindo. Anthony Hernandez versus Austin Hubbard. Just looking at them physically if you didn't watch fighting, you would think Anthony Hernandez. What the fuck? Alexander Hernandez. I don't know why I've written hand. Guys, it was late. Alexander Hernandez should destroy Austin Hubbard. In my opinion, he's a better fighter than the two, better striker. I think his defense isn't the worst. And I think Austin Hubbard is a 50-50 fighter. He's coming off a win against Michael Figel. I've researched this fight, guys. Don't worry. Trust. He's a 50-50 fighter, got cut by the UFC, came on a 2-fight win streak, came back to the UFC, lost, won. Logically, it's time for him to lose again. Just how it goes. Anthony Hernandez is the better fighter. He's coming off a KO to Damon Jackson. But that was at featherweight. For some reason, he was in featherweight where his chin is probably worse. He got finished a few times. Bill Aldo finished him as well. It wasn't a good look. I understand. But he has a winning over Jim Miller. Jim Miller's not the worst fighter to have a win over. Austin Hubbard isn't that high level. Alexander, why did I put this name up? Alexander Hernandez is I can't redo this video. I'm too deep. I'm 29.5 minutes in. Anthony Hernandez is the Alexander Hernandez is the better fighter of the two. He will win this fight. He is the pick. Let's move on. Austin Hubbard, 50-50. I'm picking Alexander Hernandez. I think he's the better fighter. let's just move on before the names confuse me further. Even though they shouldn't, but I just can't help looking at these beautiful name displays that I've made for you guys. 45 minutes. Cesar Almeida versus Ihor Potieria. The pick will be told to you in a second, because I feel like Cesar Almeida, they're both strikers. Ihor Potieria is coming off a brutal finish by Michelle Pereira. Got knocked down, backflipped on, choked out. He has lost a fair few fights in the division. I don't trust his chin. He is one of the chinniest motherfuckers in the entire division. He has a win. He had a good win against Shogun Rua, but that was old Shogun Rua. Like, the corpse of Shogun Rua. That was the old Rua, not the new Rua. Not doing what he's told Rua. Cesar Almeida is coming off a loss to Roman Kopylov. Roman Kopylov is a really good grappler and a really good striker. Cesar Almeida was out striking him on the feet easily. Kopylov had to resort to takedowns, and even then it was a split decision. It was a close fight. If this fight stays on the feet, Cesar Almeida will finish Ihor Potieria in a brutal, brutal fashion, in my opinion. The first round, the pick is going to be Cesar Pereira. Almeida. Why am I looking at my screen? The pick will be Cesar Almeida. He is training with Alex Pereira apparently for this fight. That we saw what happened with Sean Strickland when he trained with Alex Pereira. Came out, outstruck Israel Adesanya. Beat him on the feet. Knocked him down one of the rounds. And Cesar actually has a win over Alex Pereira. He lost to him twice, beat him once. That's his narrative coming into the UFC. And yeah, I think he's just going to win. I just don't think the Potieria is good enough, guys. I don't know what else to break down. On the feet, I think Cesar Almeida is going to catch him. I'm calling a head kick KO right now. He's a great kickboxer. I'm calling a head kick KO. First round, drops him. Maybe it's not an immediate stoppage. Maybe he follows up with some strikes. So it's technically not a head kick KO, but it really is. The pick is Cesar Almeida. And I actually have him for one of my multis, which is not showing up here. He's part of my multi with I had a second $50 multi. Ryan Spann, Cesar Almeida, and Joaquin Buckley. For some reason, I forgot to put it up. Speaking of which, Ryan Spann versus Ovince St. Preux. I haven't told you I'm picking, but here's why I'm picking it. The loser of this fight should just retire from the UFC. There's no reason for them to be employed anymore. Because think about it, right? Ovince St. Preux coming off a win against Kenny Nishikori. I don't know what the fuck happened in that fight. Because for some reason, I thought Kenny Nishikori was going to finish Ovince St. Preux. He's 41 years young, guys. His moment in the sun in the UFC came when he fought John Jones. And that was like... That wasn't even a star-making performance. It just gave him some name notoriety. He also has some good wins in the division, I suppose. I believe he has a win over Corey Anderson back in the day. So that obviously got him some hype. Well, not hype, but just the name recognition. No one really gives a shit about Ovince St. Preux. He looked garbage against John Jones. John Jones himself looked garbage. But he's looked garbage ever since. He fought in Nishikori. I have no clue how he won that fight. He outstruck him. Those were not even tough, like, hard strikes. They were like, you could tell he was like doing the Colby Covington show, throwing punches at 70% power. Terrible, terrible fight. Honestly, Ryan Spann, you are such a nonsensical fighter. Like, your fights make no sense. You can look amazing in one fight like you did against Dominic Reyes. And knock out some good fighters, not good fighters, light heavyweight, they're all shit. But there are unranked fighters that Ryan Spann will shut the lights off of. But then the moment he fights in the top 10, he is getting goofied all over. Anthony Smith in their first fight, Johnny Walker, Bogdan Guskov destroyed him. Not destroyed him, but I think that fight was that fight on short notice? It might have been. Destroys Ryan Spann? What's going on here? But then Ryan Spann will submit Ion Cutelaba in the first round. Again, Ion Cutelaba is a 50-50 fighter. But what's happening? What's happening with you, Ryan Spann? Obviously, he lost to Nikita Krylov. That one makes more sense. Nikita Krylov's a good fighter. Ovince St. Preux got knocked out by Tanner Boser in the first round. I'm expecting similar results. Ryan Spann should be able to knock out Ovince St. Preux. But by he's part of my multi, so I have money on Ryan Spann. But by if any chance, any act of God, Ryan, I'm challenging you again one more time, 1v1. The Almighty. if by any chance Ryan Spann loses this fight, just cut him from the UFC. There's no point having Ryan Spann in the UFC if he loses to Ovince Preux. I think that should be like the new standard in the UFC. You lose to Ovince Preux, you're out of the UFC. Simple as that. Because Ovince Preux is a... If you lose to Ovince Preux, you will never, ever, ever be... Like, you can't be a top 15 fighter losing to Ovince Preux. Like, you cannot... A division is worse with your resume having lost to Ovince Preux at this stage of the game at 41 years of age. Like, it just hurts the reputation of the division. You're a top 15 fighter. You lost to Ovince Preux, who's old as hell. I don't want to swear too much. He's old as hell. Is that a swear word? He's old as hell. He's 41 years old. He beat Kayla Shakur. Got knocked out by Tanner Boser, who, again, a heavyweight. I think he moved into light heavyweight. Knocked out Ovince Preux in the first round. Ryan Spann, please, I pray, KO Ovince Preux and retire him. Because even if Ovince Preux doesn't want to retire, I don't know how many fights he has left in his contract. The UFC needs to just pull the plug on Ovince Preux. Because here's the thing with Ovince Preux. First of all, the pick's obviously Ryan Spann. The thing with Ovince Preux is they add him to main cards of like, even if it's UFC Apex, they add him to main cards and he has boring fights. And not only are they boring, they also have this 50-50 chance of killing an up-and-coming contender. Not really, because if you lose to Ovince Preux, you're not really a contender. But still, Ovince Preux, like, they put him on these cards because they act like he's a big name recognition value kind of fighter. In reality, no one cares about Ovince Preux. First of all, no one's watching these Apexes, and the people that are watching these Apexes, they're going to watch whether Ovince Preux's on the card or not. They don't care about Ovince Preux. Get him out of the division, get him out of the UFC. I hope he's made enough money. I hope he has some like side businesses. I'm not wishing any ill will on him. Get him out of the UFC, but if Ryan Spann loses, cut his contract. He's probably in a good contract by now. He's been in some decent fights. He's probably not worth the money that you're paying him at this stage. Sign someone else. Give Hernandez a better fight. Give him more money to fight someone better. Other than Gerald Mearshot in his debut. But get Anthony... Get Ryan Spann out of the UFC if he loses. Or Ovince Preux. Carla Esparza versus Tecia Pennington. It is Tecia Pennington now, isn't it? It was Tecia Torres. This is a really close fight. I think if you're betting on someone, you have to bet on Carla Esparza since she's the underdog. And I don't think she should be, to be honest. If anything, the odds should be 50-50. In my mind, Tecia Pennington was way bigger than Carla Esparza. But when I saw the face-offs, they were about the same size, to be honest. Maybe Tecia Pennington was a little bit thicker, a bit more muscle mass on her. Other than that, nothing really. But Tecia Pennington, I think, has a better striking. Carla Esparza, not really known for her striking. She's more known for her wrestling ability than getting people down than, you know, like, destroying them on the ground. She destroyed Yan Xiaonan way back then. Way back when, a few years back. Yan Xiaonan doesn't have the best wrestling, in my opinion. She would lose to most wrestlers, somehow knock on Jessica Andrade, though. Makes no sense to sport. Jessica Andrade didn't go for any wrestling in that fight, to be fair. Carla Esparza, close fight. I know who I've picked. But I'm thinking about calling an audible and switching in the last moment because Carla Esparza is the underdog. She was the champion. She did got a good run back just a year ago. She went away to have a baby. That's the big thing, right? This is her retirement fight, and I'm not going to trust a fighter who's going to have a retirement fight in any way whatsoever. Because the thing with retirement fights is, like, she has mentally already checked out before coming to this fight. Before, when she was a champion, she was at least going to, like, try to beat Weili Zhang. She had no chance to beat Weili Zhang. Everyone watching that fight, predicting that fight, knew Weili Zhang would destroy her. But yeah, she came to that fight with probably a good training camp, preparing better. Now she's mentally checked out. She knows this will be the last one. She knows the money that she makes now will be the last money she ever makes. She has no reason to win because you know how when fighters win, they're like, okay, I'll call someone else out, work towards my next contract, go up in the rankings, try to become champion again, get some pay-per-view points. Carla Esparza has done that. She's been there, done that, won the title 2 times. I think she might be not the only 2-time champion in the division. But yeah, I think she might be mentally checked out. I think she will. And you know what? Carla Esparza, even though she is one of the lesser fun fighters in the division, I like Carla Esparza. I think she looks friendly. Like, you look at her and you're like, that's a friendly looking face. You know what I mean? Like, she looks nice. I hope it's not a brutal finish, but I hope it is a finish. I am hoping for an early finish in this women's fight. The pick will be Tecia Pennington. I think she's just faster of the two as well, more explosive of the two, better striking of the two. She has decent wrestling. She can get it up from like the takedowns, and I don't think Carla Esparza will be able to do too much damage on the ground. The thing is, Tecia Pennington has also had a baby. They've both had babies. I don't think you are the same fighter after you have a baby. It's like a big surgery, in my opinion. It's like when a fighter goes out, comes back from big surgery, like Ponzinibbio. Not as big as Ponzinibbio, because he was absolutely cut from his injury. And any chances of having a title, even though he thinks he can still win it today. They both had babies. Carla's is more recent. That's got to be a factor, right? Plus, Tecia Pennington trains in elevation. I think she'll have the better cardio. She's not coming off a baby immediately. The pick is Tecia Pennington. The last fight I'm breaking down, the opener of the card, Court McGee versus Tim Means. Tim Means is the favorite in this fight. I am going to pick Tim Means. I think he is the better striker of the two. 50-50 fight though. If you're putting money on anyone, put money on Court McGee. He's the underdog, even though the fight should be 50-50 in my opinion. I will be going with Tim Means. I can just go to the last page. Tim Means is going to be the pick. I think his striking is a little bit better. It's a tale of two halves. Tim Means will try to strike with him. Court McGee, he'll be going for a different approach. He'll go for the wrestling approach, recently as we've seen in his fights. Neither of their chins is like... They're 39 and 40 years old. We'll probably get a finish. Hopefully it's a fun fight. The loser can retire. Or maybe not. If they want to continue, more power to him. Probably not. I don't know. I can see a finish. I can't trust either of their chins, though. Either one getting knocked out. Don't put money on this fight. But if you are put on the underdog, it's 250-50 to have money on the favorite. Because you're not... The risk doesn't outweigh the reward in this case. Yeah, I'm picking Tim Means. There's not much to say here. It's going to open the card. It should be a fun one. I think. I don't know. If it's a finish, it'll be fun. If it's not, probably a boring wrestling, whatever. Let's go Tim Means. I like Tim Means more of the two. Like, he looks better. Court McGee looks a little bit creepy. Let's go back. Looks a bit more creepier of the two. Looks like he would drive around in a van with like tinted windows. I don't know. I was thinking about this fight. I watched some fights. They were both losing a shit ton in their last few. So I just thought, who do you think is going to win? And I just thought Tim Means looked better of the two. And I thought it was 50-50. So there you go. Those are my picks and predictions for UFC 307 that takes place tomorrow in 12 hours. Under 12 hours. Like and subscribe. If any of my betting tips make you any money whatsoever, make sure to subscribe. I've made a 43-minute breakdown for you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. I will be live streaming. If you want to check me out from the early prelims all the way to the main event, catch you tomorrow.